Ka, what? Va, or. Kim, what? Sukham, happiness. Dukham, distress. Eva, indeed. Va, or. Translation. This material world resembles the waves of a constantly flowing river. Therefore, what is a curse and what is a favor? What are the heavenly planets and what are the hellish planets? What is actually happiness and what is actually distress? Because the waves flow constantly, none of them has an eternal effect. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. You can all hear me, right?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Okay.
And yours.
Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, "My dear living entities within this material world, why are you being carried away by the waves of the modes of material nature?" If the living entity tries to understand that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, there will no longer be misery for him. Krishna wants us to give up all other engagements and to surrender unto him. If we do so, there will be the cause and effect. If we do so, where will the cause and effect of this material world be? There is nothing like cause and effect for the surrendered soul. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this regard that being put into the material world is like being thrown into a mine of salt. If one falls into a mine of salt, he tastes only salt wherever he goes. Similarly, this material world is full of miseries. So-called temporary happiness of the world is also misery. But in ignorance, we cannot understand this. What is the actual position? When one comes to his senses, when he becomes Krishna conscious, he is no longer concerned with the various conditions of this material world. He is not concerned with happiness or distress, curses or favors, or heavenly or hellish planets. He sees no distinctions between them. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjanan Salakaya Chaksu Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So here Chitraketu is speaking. Of course, you're familiar with the earlier part of the story. Chitraketu is wandering throughout the universe in a beautiful airplane. I'm sure I'll read it to you. He has unlimited lifespan, not subject to deterioration like we are of the body. In other words, he's practically liberated and he's enjoying life. He says here, Chitraketu, the most powerful mystic yogi, wandered about enjoying life for millions of years with bodily strength and senses free from deterioration, meaning he did not feel old age or disease. He traveled within the valleys of the Sumera mountain, which is the place of perfection for various kinds of mystic powers. In those valleys, he enjoyed life with the women of the Vidyadhara Loka by chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Hari. So he gave a little description of his quality of life. Now, who of us can say, even though we may be materially so-called happy in this world, financially situated, and nice family, house, car, job, but who can say that I am free from deterioration, that I am not getting sick, I am not getting old, and I am not going to die? None of us. So this is the nature of the world. So interesting analogy here in this verse. In the purport, Prabhupada quotes Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who has written a commentation on the Bhagvatam. and who Prabhupada, when Prabhupada put his Bhagavatam purports together, he was studying the various acharyas and reading each of their commentary and then putting them together and making his comments in English language. So apparently in this particular purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti gives the example of being in a salt mine. If you're in a salt mine and wherever you go, everything will taste like salt because salt is all pervading. So similarly, so Prabhupada says here, similarly, the material world is full of misery. So in other words, the so-called temporary happiness of this world is also misery. But in ignorance, we cannot understand this. So if you're in the salt mine, everything tastes like salt. And if you're in this world, everything has some misery. So one may say, I remember one time years ago, there was a discussion with Hridayananda Swami, and there was the anti-cult movement going on at the time, and they had considered that the Krishna, they were deprogramming or trying to get children away from the being devotees. So the lady was saying that to Hridayananda that everything you talk about is negative. Everything is bad. Everything is negative. You see no happiness, no goodness in this world. So this is the vision of the materialist. He tries to be optimistic, that everything will be okay. And I'm thinking of one song, Don't Worry. Well, Bob Marley, famous singer, he said, don't worry, be happy. It's a famous slogan in Jamaica. If any of you have ever visited Jamaica, the people will say, don't worry, be happy. So we all want happiness. This is the way we try to live. But we do find that, sometimes we are happy, seemingly, and sometimes we're not happy. Happiness and distress come and go, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Martra Spartas tu Konteya Sitoshna Sukha Dukada Agamai Payano Nichas Tam Tatiksasva Bharata. Tam Tatiksasva means tolerate. He tells Arjuna that you have to tolerate happiness and distress, come of its own accord. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're not. We didn't try necessarily for the happiness, but it comes, and we certainly don't try for misery. But it also comes. And we all have experience in our lives that there's some misery there. Some people have more than others. And this is an interesting point to note that for the people in the Western society who don't believe in karma and don't understand the laws of nature, they're always confused as to why me? What I'm a good person. Why am I suffering? Why do I get sick? Why do I have cancer? Why did my children have problems? Why am I in a car accident? Why anything? Why they all say why me? Why me? Why me? But for the devotee, we understand that this is just the way life is here. That there is happiness and there is distress. And we don't worry about it. Here, the last sentence of the purport here, Prabhupada says, he sees no distinction between them. He is not concerned with happiness or distress, curses or favors, or heavenly or hellish planets. So that pretty much cuts away our ambition for this world. Because we see all these rich people, we hear about famously rich people, Bill Gates or Mr. Birla, or wherever you may be in the world, there's certainly a lot of rich people. And seemingly they seem happy. But we all know that they have a material body, they have subtle body, gross body, mind, intelligence, ego, and physical body made of material elements. We all know they're all going to get diseases. They're all going to have distress of various kinds. No matter how rich you are, you still have to go to the hospital, checkups, dental work, all of these things, especially at our age, for those of us who are in our 50s, 60s. I'm actually turning 70 my next birthday in March. So I never thought I'd make it this far. But I certainly don't feel like I'm 20 anymore. And anyone who's in this older group can certainly agree with that. There's an interesting about happiness and distress. So just a local story. So in Asheville, North Carolina, the largest private home in America is called the Biltmore. And maybe some of you have visited it. It's open to the public, and it's they give tours. So my father wanted to see this place some years ago, maybe 10 years ago. So I drove him down to see the Biltmore. So the Biltmore was started around 1900, was finished around 1906. And it was built by one of the Vanderbilts, one of the wealthiest families in America. And huge stone complex made in the copy of a French chateau. And I think he had about 1,300 acres. He had a dairy farm, and he had, a lot of outbuildings and this big, beautiful house. So he moved into the house. It was finished around 1906. And then around 1915, he had appendicitis. And of course, back then, medicine was not as good as it is today. So they took him all the way up to Washington, D.C., because Asheville, North Carolina didn't have any good hospitals. He built his palace in a back place where a lot of land was available for cheap. He couldn't build it in New York City, he couldn't build it in Washington, D.C., because you couldn't get so much land. So he goes to Washington, D.C., has the operation for appendix removal. But turns out it becomes infected, and he's like mid-50s, 55 years old, and he dies. So he builds this big house. I'm going to enjoy wife, children, family. I'm the king. I'm the master of all I survey. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that the maniac mentality, he thinks that I'm the controller. I'm in control. What can go wrong? I built my palace. I have my servants. I have unlimited money. I have cooks, cleaners, everything I can need in life. I'm almost God, except we're not God, because we have to get disease. We have to die. So then he passed away untimely. We would call the term is untimely death, because he was young in the prime of his life. So there's a little story for those of you who live in the East Coast, or for those of you who are anywhere, you can Google Biltmore Mansion, Asheville, North Carolina. You can see it. So this still today is the largest house in America. But Mr. Biltmore Mr. Vanderbilt is not there to enjoy it. So Prabhupada was on a walk in Paris once, and he would walk in the parks, and there's old statues in the parks. So there was a statue of Napoleon. So he stopped and he looked at the statue, and he said to the devotees, so France is still here, but where is Napoleon? Prabhupada's always seeing things in this light, that, Napoleon went through so much effort thinking, I am France. Without me, France would not exist. But Napoleon is not existing, and France is still existing. So we think like that. We try to build an empire. We collect paraphernalia, possibly real estate or whatever we're investing in. We certainly check our portfolio, stock investments regularly. And we think I'm doing very well. But ultimately, we have to leave. We cannot stay here. Of course, while we're here, we have to survive. You have to, not that you don't get an education, you don't make plans for the future, but we should always know that ultimately it is temporary. So here in the purport, Prabhupada quotes, gives a sentence here. He says, Krishna wants us to give up all other engagements and surrender unto him. So we all know what verse Prabhupada's talking about. So we go to the Bhagavad Gita here. And the verse he's talking about is 1866. This is one of the most quoted verses that Prabhupada will speak in public lectures. Sarvadharmam prityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashami ma suchaha. And in the purport, he will say, ma suchaha means, ma means do not, and suchaha means worry. Don't worry. So we don't need to quote Jamaican singers about don't worry, be happy. We need to quote Lord Krishna, ma suchaha, don't worry. Be happy because we are devotees of Krishna, because Krishna is our Father. Krishna is taking care of us. Krishna is in charge of everything. So in the purport, I'll read a few lines here. It says, in the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who becomes free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Now, that is true. One cannot approach God unless one is pure. So we need to get purified to approach the Supreme Pure. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. So if we, this was the beauty of Lord Chaitanya, this is the beauty of Lord Krishna. Even if we are sinful, even if we are imperfect, even if we are of an unfortunate birth, it doesn't matter what we are, if we take to the process of devotional service. Devotional service is purifying in itself. And of course, we all know, and Prabhupada brought this to America, and Lord Chaitanya brought this to Bharat, that the chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the process for purification in this age. Other ages have different processes, deity worship, severe austerities and penances, sacrifices. But in the age of Kali Yuga, it's the chanting, the simple process, because we're manda sumanda mateo, we're slow, we're unfortunate, we have no good qualities. And Prabhupada always quotes Kaloa Sudra Sambhavan. He said, in this age, actually, everyone is born Sudra. And I was listening to a lecture once, we've all heard this many times, that we're born Sudra. So how is it that we are born Sudra? He says, because no one is performing the samskaras. Did our parents perform the various samskaras for our conception? Did they follow through with samskaras as we were born and as we were children and as we grow up? Even the marriage is a samskara, vivaha samskara. And most of us have that. Although in the Western world, even they're not doing that so much. They just live together. Boys and girls who live together. Don't let your children live together. They must get properly married. Prabhupada said, this is the duty of the family man, the parents, particularly the father, must get, and particularly with the daughters, that they must get them married. Not so much for the son, doesn't say the son, says the daughter. Daughter must get married. This is to protect society. You have all these free women running around. They create havoc because then there's illicit sex. Everyone is, and we see that in the Western countries. This is going on all over the place. So if the woman is married, particularly when she's young, nowadays we see it's a fashion, even in India, education, more education, the girl is not even finished with school till she's 30 years old. Traditionally, women would be married while they're still teenagers, practically late teens. Man would be somewhere 24, 25. But now the woman is not even finished with school till she's old. And anyway, this is Kali Yuga, what to do. But this was the traditional process that Prabhupada gives us. But we're not, these are all social norms. Prabhupada was talking with a professor. He says that culture is important as a background for spiritual life. And he was saying how he quoted Chanakya Pandit, Matravat Paradareshu, Mata means mother. He says that people should be trained, the men should be trained to see the woman as mother. Because if you see the woman as mother, you're not seeing the woman, if you're a young man and you're with other young women, you don't see them as objects of enjoyment. I know personally in schools, in high school and in college, the boys, their main ambition is to get one girlfriend. We see in Western high school, I'm sure it's going over around in India too and going everywhere. The boy is thinking, let me become friends with one girl. And this way I'll be happy. But Chanakya says, see all the women as mother, respect the woman. Womanhood is to be respected. Women are not objects of enjoyment for free roaming men. So he's talking to the professor, he quotes Chanakya, see the women as mother. He says, but in our colleges, they're all being trained how to find some woman and have some enjoyment. So he said, this is the degradation. This is not culture. Real culture is to be respectful. And then the rest of that verse is you see others' possessions as they're not. You realize they're not yours. You see it as like trash. I'm not interested in that. You're not interested. In other words, you're not a thief. You don't try to steal from other people, either legally or illegally. Well, shall we say in business, there's stealing. You do something to gain money, sometimes illegally. So you see others' possessions. You're not interested in others' possessions, and you treat other people, like you would want to be treated yourself. We all want some respect. We all want to be noticed, shall we say. We want people to realize that we're intelligent, we're educated, we have some value. But yet we see people people don't treat each other nicely. They're disrespectful. So this is Chanakya back 2,000 years ago, giving us these directions, and Prabhupada quotes him often for moral instructions. He never said that Chanakya was a great bhakta or a pure devotee. He said he was a great brahmana. Interesting to note, he was a brahmana, and he gave moral instructions, how society should be and how people should be brought up. So, and in fact, in the Guru Kula, when Prabhupada said that the young men and devotees who go to the school should learn the slokas of Chanakya, to learn these moral principles. So Chitraketu, he's realizing, and in the Bhagavad Gita, there's that verse that says one should see stones and gold as the same. In other words, we see with equal vision. This is the devotee. He says here, he sees no distinction between them, his happiness and distress. In other words, we're not disturbed when there's distress, and we're not overly elated. We're equal posed. Things don't bother us either way. Whereas we see the people who are not in devotional service, we call them the karmis, And Prabhupada was talking about the term karmi once, well, many times. He says, we generically say, oh, the karmis. Karmis means fruitive workers, people who are actively chasing after the results of their work. They're karmis. But he said there's actually three terms. There's vikarma. Vikarma, actually the general population is vikarmis because they are performing activities which are against the Vedic culture. They're doing sinful activities. They're vikarmis. Then there's karmis. A true karmi is a karma yogi or a karma kanda, that he follows the regulations of the Vedas. There's so many rules, so many rituals. He tries to stay within the regulations of the Vedic culture. He's a karmi because he follows the karma kanda regulations of the Vedas. And then there's akarma. Vikarma, karma, akarma. Akarma means there's no reaction. He's not getting good, he's not getting bad. And who is that? That's the devotee of God, the devotee of Krishna, because he's offering his results to Krishna. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, in the beginning, he didn't want to fight. He said, I'm going to kill my relatives, and then I won't enjoy the kingdom because everyone will be dead. This is just terrible. I'm not going to fight. So ultimately, the whole Bhagavad Gita comes to the point where Arjuna realizes through Krishna's teachings that, yes, I should act for you. I should become akarma. I should become free from the desire for the result. And I should just want to please you. Now I am prepared to fight. I will fight for you. I will destroy my enemies, even though they're my relatives, because you want it, because this will make you happy. So if we live our life like that because Krishna wants it, this will please Krishna, therefore I will do these things. So in devotional service, there's many practices to keep up with. For example, eating, everyone is eating. So Krishna says, patram pushpam palam toyo yo me bhakta prayachati. He says, you offer a fruit, a flower, a leaf, or some water to me. So, and then they elaborate on that, the previous acharyas, that we give whatever, we make a plate and we offer it to the picture of Krishna and to the spiritual master. Ultimately, spiritual master first, because spiritual master is the link to Krishna. And if we don't have a spiritual master, then we can still offer, Krishna will accept. So we offer all of our food, that way we don't eat sin. People that don't recognize God as the proprietor, but he's the enjoyer. Bhoktaram, Jagna Tapasham, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, Gatfamam, Shantim Richati. Shantim, he becomes peaceful. But if we understand, Prabhupada said this is a very key verse in Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram, I'm the enjoyer. Bhoktaram, Jagna Tapasham, all yagnas, all tapasya, all austerities should be done as an offering to me. Bhoktaram Jagna Tapasham Sarva Loka. I own everything. I own all the planets. We're making a big deal. They're going to the moon. They're sending Sputniks up here and there, Mars. Who made the Mars? Who made the moon? Who made the Earth? Who made the galaxy? Krishna made everything. We think we're so great. We're sending up little Sputnik, collect some dust. Even if they're doing that, it's interesting to note that Prabhupada from the beginning, because moon is a heavenly planet. It is not to go to the heavens. You cannot go there by machine. You have to go there through punya, through pious activities. So Prabhupada said they didn't go, but that's another subject. So Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, Gatfamam Shantim Richati. He'll get Shanti. India, we all say Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We end our prayer, Shanti. We want peace. We want peace. We want peace sometimes without God. This is the problem. We want Om Shanti, but we don't want to serve God. We're too busy serving ourselves, serving the world, serving everything else, politics. This is all temporary. Who is the prime minister? What is going on? Who is running for president? In the news of America, we're having election coming up in the fall. Everyone is talking politics. All temporary, means nothing. America was here before the Europeans came, and it will be here for, until the earth is in devastation. And there'll be so many, just like France with Napoleon, or the British Empire. British had owned half the world, conquered half the world, or at least claimed it, tried to. But nowadays, they don't own hardly anything. So things come and go. Happiness comes, distress comes. We should not worry about these things. We should worry about how to become Krishna conscious. So in that line here in the purport, it says that that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Krishna, he is automatically freed. Let's admit it. A lot of people are sinful. A lot of people, most people are not pure devotees. Most people are not even bhaktas. They're performing all kinds, these four principles we follow just for basic purification. We don't take intoxication. Everyone is drinking. Everyone is smoking. Well, smoking, mostly now they've legalized marijuana, so smoking marijuana is very popular. Drinking alcohol has always been popular. Meat eating, many people are not vegetarian. Interesting point on meat eating. Prabhupada said, if we ever became in control of the government, in charge of running the country, he said the first thing that we would do is close the slaughterhouses. He didn't say the first thing we'll do would be to stop the drinking of alcohol or stop prostitution and all. Said the first thing, meat eating is the worst, is the most sinful. So he said, number one sin is eating of meat. In the Bhagvatam, it says that the only person that cannot understand God are the animal killers. There's a verse, and Prabhupada quotes this. So when Prabhupada would meet with religious leaders, particularly in the West here, Christian leaders, he would always emphasize in the Bible, there are 10 commandments in the Old Testament, 10 commandments. But one of them is thou shalt not kill. He said this is the most important commandment because one should not be killing animals. One should not be eating animals. One should not be killing anything. The Christians interpret this as don't murder, don't kill human beings. But Prabhupada showed us that the real meaning of thou shalt not kill is do not kill any living being. And this is the vision, the equal vision of the devotee, because he sees that the soul is in every living thing. Not only the humans, but the animals, the plants, the grass, the trees, the fish, the birds. So many species, 8,400,000 species of life in this world. And every one of them has a soul, even the amoebas, the little germs, anything that is living is living because there's a soul in it. There's no such thing as no soul within a living being. But I was brought up in Christian background. Christian people do not believe that, they believe that only human beings have a soul or are a soul. They do not believe that animals have souls. And therefore they say God has given us animals to survive, to eat. There's no soul in the animal. But then you ask them, if you're talking to them and you ask them, would you eat your dog? Would you eat your cat? Would you eat your pet? Oh no, I love my dog. I love my cat. because they see the cat and the dog they say, he's part of my family. We love him, because they see that it's a living thing. It has feelings. It gets hungry. It feels pain. It feels hot. It feels cold, just like we do. So how you can say it doesn't have a soul? So anyway, this is the fallacy of Western religion. It's incomplete. And people ask the devotees, Western devotees, why did you become a devotee of Krishna? You're not born in this. And no, I wasn't born in this. But when I heard about it, I said, this is giving me answers. Now I know, as brought up in other religions, Christian religion, I didn't know anything. All I know, Jesus died for me and my sins are gone. That's all I knew. I didn't know the souls in the animals. I didn't know purity, how I should be pure, how I should do devotion to God, how I should pray to God, how I should surrender to God. Christians, they say surrender to God, but how to surrender to God? That is explained by Srila Prabhupada to us. And that is why we all became those who were sincere and pious and fortunate. We became devotees of Krishna. And I became a devotee when I was still in high school. So I've been a devotee like 52 years. So sometimes, preaching to Western people is not easy. That's why our temples, you go to the temples in America and they're Europe. Well, not so much in Europe. Europe, they have a lot of local devotees. South America, they have a lot of local devotees. But in America, we have a lot of Indian-born Hindu devotees. But we do need to emphasize that there are American boys and girls still who will become devotees. Of course, we have to train them. They come with no background, so you have to work. It's a washing process. Cheto darpana marjanam, gradually cleansing their heart, and they'll come to the point of understanding Bhagavad Gita, understanding that Krishna is the supreme God. So I think we'll end here as it's 8 o'clock, and maybe there's some questions. So we'll leave it open for that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Anyone have a question out there?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Dandat Pranam, all grace to Sri Prabhupada. It was so nice to have heard from you. You're recounting how you came and how you find a better answer, bigger answer, more fulfilling answer in Sanatan Dharma. It is so nice to hear the perspective from Western devotee. And I also wanted to know in this context, Prabhu, how to preach to the Western world most effectively. The answers. So not all people, of course, are searching for answers like you. Were such like the way you are searching. Of course, a lot of people are in a mode of passion or mode of ignorance. Most of them. So. Of course, some people in the mode of goodness who will be inclined to find answers. So for them, the philosophical answers will be nice, will be easy. But for regular people, mode of passion and ignorance in the Western world, how to preach. So that if you could give your views and realization.
Well, I will say when I first met the devotees, obviously I had no background in it. I was just a seeker, and I was looking for, spirituality in general. So the first thing it's first of all, it's not easy to preach to Western. It's easy, and it's not to find a receptive Western person. Now that's difficult. Preaching to them is easy. To find someone that is actually receptive. And that all comes back to people's karma, people's good fortune. why is it that I became a devotee and so many, and I tried to get my high school friends to be interested in Krishna consciousness, but none of them took to it because most people are not fortunate. But, Prabhupada would just speak the philosophy. He would give those classes in New York in 1966, all Western people, not one Indian. There was not one Indian in this movement until Gopal Krishna Swami joined back in maybe 68, at least by 69. Before that, the first couple of years, San Francisco, New York, Montreal were the first temples, all Western boys and girls. And a lot of devotees, sometimes the Western people, they join, and sometimes they stop. They leave Krishna consciousness. They find it too difficult because they don't understand it. They're not, for some reason or another. Well, but so preaching to Western people, it's first of all, you preach by your example. They see you're a happy person. They see you eat a good diet. Diet is something you can talk about, how it's healthy, vegetarian food. You won't get, good for the heart. Even Bill Clinton, the ex-president, former president, years ago, his doctor said he had clogged up arteries. Doctor said you have to become plant-based. Now they don't use the word vegetarian so much. They say plant-based. That's the newest term for vegetarian diet, not veg diet, plant-based. So he's been a strict plant-based diet person. Of course, he's not eating prasadam, so we don't really give him credit for that. But because the plants also have a soul, you have to offer your plants to Krishna to get the benefit. Krishna will not accept meat. We cannot offer non-veg to Krishna. Of course, anyone in India knows that, but the Western people know nothing. So preaching to Western people, it's just you by your example, most of you have experience you're in an office, you're around people. Like my wife was a public school teacher for 20 years. So all her teacher friends, they would go out like at the end of the week and socialize. So they're all drinking some wine and drinking something, eating something. But they all knew her name is Rama Tulsi. They all know Rama Tulsi. She doesn't drink. She it's a religious thing. She doesn't drink alcohol. She's vegetarian. So they accepted, because my wife is Indian, they accepted that this is an Indian culture, lifestyle, not our lifestyle, not the Western lifestyle. So they see. So if they're a little interested, particularly one must come to the point of being materially exhausted. That we find that a lot of devotees joined because they were materially exhausted. They weren't, we joined young. Most of the devotees joined young. It is more difficult to, you can get someone involved, even if they're involved in business and doing many things in this world. But most of our devotees joined while they were in their lower mid-20s. In the early days, all the devotees, almost all of them, were in their lower 20s. Prabhupada says, like bamboo. A young bamboo, you can bend it any which way. You get old bamboo, very stiff. So the older we get, the more conditioned we get, it's more difficult. Like my parents, I could never get them to understand Krishna consciousness. I could never get them to become vegetarian because they weren't looking, they didn't care, they didn't want it. And a lot of people are like that. If they don't want, they're not looking, they don't care. Basically, one does not preach to the faithless. You can, they have to be motivated to hear your message. Maybe there's, people have, death in the family, health issues, then they're a little motivated to realize material world is suffering. And maybe they'll listen a little bit more. Like a lot of people will go to church if they're Christian, if there's some problem, but when there's no problems, I don't go to church, So it's preaching to anyone. Of course, it's easier to preach to Indian people because they have a background in it and they understand that there is next life. They believe in karma. They believe in birth and death, reincarnation, and they believe that there's a God. They may not know who God is, but they know that there's a God. So, some people are worshiping Durga, some people are worshiping Shiva, some people are worshiping Vishnu, various demigods. So we can bring them up to understand Krishna Stu Bhagavan Chayam. Krishna is the supreme. He's the Ishvara Parama Krishna. He's the supreme controller. So Parthadas, where are you located? Partha, you there? Anyway.
I'm in New Jersey, Prabhuji.
New Jersey, okay. So you're East Coast person. So you can go visit the Biltmore. I don't know why they call it the Biltmore, because he hadn't kept building more and more. Maybe they call it the Biltmore. But that story of Vanderbilt and his big palace, and then appendicitis and Margaya, time's up, next life. Can't stay to enjoy it. No matter how much we accumulate, we all want to have a nice house and nice things, but that nice house we'll have to leave at some point, no matter how hard we try to stay here. And nobody wants to, we all want to be with our family and with our money and all these things, but everything's temporary. We're born with nothing, we die with nothing. All we have is our devotion to God. So that we need to work on. So that's why people in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, people who are karma, they do pious activity, they do charity, they perform yagnas, they give, they respect the cows and the brahmanas, because they know if I'm pious, if I'm good to God, I'm good with godly things. My next life, maybe I will get a better birth. Devotees, we don't care about better birth next life. We want to go, well, even a pure devotee doesn't even care for liberation. We only care to please God. Whatever I get, I get. Of course, we understand if we surrender to Krishna, Krishna says, Ma Suchaha, he says, don't worry. No worries. We say, no worries, man. Like they say in Jamaica, no worries. So Krishna says, don't worry. So we won't have to worry if we surrender to Krishna. He'll take care of us. Ultimately, we know going back to Godhead is our desired next destination. But the pure devotee, he doesn't even care if he's going back to Godhead, because he knows Krishna will take care of him. Whatever Krishna wants, Krishna will take care of it. So thank you, Partha, for the question. Not easy preaching to Western people, not easy preaching to anyone, because namam deskriptana mudha prapajante naradamam mayaya pritagyana asuram bhavam asrita. The demoniac, 4 types of people. They're mudhas. Prabhupada uses this word mudha quite often. Mudha means foolish. People are foolish. They're naradamas. They're lowest of mankind. People are, we say people are born Sudras. People are not even born Sudras. People are born Naradama, lowest of mankind. We have the term in India, untouchables, untouchable people. Untouchable means the outside of Vedic culture. Meat eaters and demons. So, namaskritana mudha prapajante naradama mayaya pritagana. Jnana means knowledge, and maya means illusion. Your knowledge is stolen by illusion. Mayaya pritagana. And asuram bhavam asritaha. They have the nature, this is the nature of the asura. Sura means godly and asura means ungodly. So unfortunately, Kali Yuga, it's most people are impious. But we try. We go. Our chanting parties go out. The temples have the Harinam chanting parties because it purifies the atmosphere. This is what Mahaprabhu Chaitanya did. He took the chanting to the streets. Interesting to note that the Brahmanas at the time of Lord Chaitanya complained to the local magistrate that he's ruining our religion. He's getting all these low caste people chanting the names of God in the public. He said, this is ruining our religion. So even people would complain to Prabhupada. Brahmins would come why are you accepting these Western boys and girls as Brahmanas? Why are you making them Brahmanas? This is against Vedic culture. But in order to become, we have the term Vaishnava. Vaishnava means devotee of Vishnu. In order to become a Vaishnava, one must first become Brahmana, not necessarily officially, but by qualification. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes what is the qualification of the Brahmana. He's peaceful, he's truthful, he's clean in and out. Prabhupada says we take 3 baths if possible, at least 2 baths a day. Cleanliness, he's austere. Cleanliness, austerity, he's merciful to other people. So these are the qualities of the Brahmana. Samo, Damo, Tapa, Socham, Shantir, Arjavam, Evacha, Gyanam, Vigyanam. He has knowledge, practical knowledge, and realized knowledge. Gyanam, Vigyanam, Astikyam, Brahmakarma, Swabhavajam. These are the way the Brahmanas, the qualities of the Brahmanas. So sometimes we wonder, why did Prabhupada bother to give Brahminical initiation to people? Because one must develop these qualities of a Brahmana. So Prabhupada wanted to develop Vedic culture here. We notice that other swamis who come to the West and most of them are teaching some kind of yoga, come from India, but none of them were giving Gayatri mantra, sacred thread, making them Brahmanas. They were just charging some money and giving some mantra or teaching some yoga exercises. But Prabhupada wanted the whole Vedic culture. He wanted to install or develop the complete Vedic culture. Interesting point. So it's 8:15 or a little after 8:15 now. So I guess we better end. Unless someone has a burning question I can answer quickly. Otherwise, people have to go to work. Karm karo. Do the work.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful and nectarine class. We heard you after a long time and you
Yes.
explained so nicely, so many points. So I have one question, Prabhuji. So we always say that this material world is temporary, but when if we got cut to our body, the blood comes, right? So that is real. Like we feel the pain is real. So how we can say it is temporary, Prabhuji. So
How could you repeat the last part?
if we cut our finger or we get cut to our body, the blood comes, or like we twist our knee, then there is a lot of pain. But that pain is real, right? So how can we say it is temporary, Prabhuji?
Certainly, if you have accident, cut, hurt yourself, break a bone, have a car accident, certainly the body is a vehicle. Prabhupada said the body is like the car, and the important thing with the car is the driver. So inside this body we are. So interesting. On every letter Prabhupada wrote to his disciples, he always would say at the end, I hope this meets you in good health. Every letter, he said, I hope this means good health was important. So even though we're not the body, we're the soul, doesn't mean we neglect the body or we try to put the body, we're careful with our body. We don't want to harm it or let it get harmed in some way. So, but some, things happen, accidents happen, and certainly diseases come. And as we get older, something will get us: heart attack, blood vessel bursting, cancer. These are all the common ways to die. something will happen to this machine, just like your car. Eventually, the motor will go, transmission will go, rust will deteriorate it. So something will get this body one way or the other, no matter, even if we're a doctor. Many Indian people are doctors. Even doctors have to die. There's no living forever within this vehicle, within this car. So as long as we know that, but we take good care of it, we wash it, we clean it, we eat healthy food, we offer our food to Krishna, and then we take it as prasadam. We try to stay healthy. So hope this meets you in good health. Important point. Take care of your car. Just because we're not the car doesn't mean I don't change the oil, I don't check the water. No, we have to maintain our vehicle. And so we can use it for service. Prabhupada would always say, we need this vehicle for service to Krishna. Our physical body, this is how, mandi. With your hands, you take your hands and you sweep and you clean. This is, and doing arti, we're offering the items to the Lord, the ghee lamp, the agarbatti. So we need this body for service. And talking, our most important sense is talking. We can talk to people about Krishna. Srinvata Swakata Krishna. We hear about Krishna from devotees. We speak about Krishna to others to give them Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. So if we didn't have a body, we couldn't talk, we couldn't walk to the temple, we couldn't go on pilgrimage. So take care of our bodies and as best we can without becoming too attached. So hope that gives you some insight.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. And thank you for Ram Tulsi Mataji also. She immediately requested you and you all agreed to give the class. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. And we'll see you again soon. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I'm happy to be back with you all again.
Yes, Prabhuji. So many references, shloka references you gave in your class. So that was so wonderful.
It's interesting to hear from the Western devotees because they have a unique viewpoint, having particularly older devotees who have been in the movement for many years and lived in the ashram and have traveled many places amongst the devotees. So they have a lot of experience. So
yes, and we are fortunate to have you, Prabhuji, and we can hear those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
All right,
So,
we'll sign off now. Okay, Hare
yes.
Krishna.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai. His Grace Anuttama Prabhuji ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. I'll stop recording now.